Dan, Monday afternoon, here we are, and apparently we found out that we lost on Saturday. So,
Did
how are
we?
you doing? Yeah, apparently that's the rumor.
Um, yeah, man. I mean, listen, it. I mean, what are you going to do? I
Yeah,
mean, there's a lot to unpack. There's a lot to digest. There's a lot of good, some bad. Certainly not the way I thought the game was going to play out.
yeah,
You know, but it's like I texted you and Jock, and I even posted on Twitter. Like, it was such a weird feeling waking up, even after the game, going to bed and waking up the next morning. Like, it's not as catastrophic and devastating as a loss like this would have been in the past because of the new playoff format,
right.
and also the new Big Ten format, right? I mean, if we win out, there's a couple scenarios where we don't control our own destiny in the conference. For instance, if Illinois won out, or if I want to say even if Wisconsin won out, um, well, no, not Wisconsin, like Illinois right now, like they're undefeated in the league, right?
Hmm.
If they won out, they would go over us, assuming Oregon wins
Right.
out. So there's a few things, but I mean the schedule they've got, I don't expect them to win out. So as long as we win out, we should be fine playing in that Big Ten title game. And I'll tell you this right now, I mean, I wouldn't be going into a Big Ten title rematch with Oregon like worried, you
Right.
know. Um, so it's just a different kind of season. It's almost got like an NFL feel now.
It does. It certainly does. I don't know. I know I feel like I'm in a little different headspace about this because I don't think it was. I don't know. We got, in my mind, we got the best version of Will Howard we're going to get. Like, he played at an elite level. Um, there were definitely some missed calls. There were some weird things that happened. Like that was definitely just the ebbs and flows of that game were certainly odd. And I'm not putting it all on one thing. But the one thing I would say, and I texted you guys this, and and I put it on Twitter. I'm in that group. I was one of those people questioning Jim Knowles with playing off coverage against Marshall, against Akron, and all the way up through with our corners because of the way that we were playing our safeties on the back end. And I'm looking at it now, going, okay, is that why we were playing off? Because you know, we're getting beat deep in practice and we just didn't know it. But, I mean, we have one of the most talented, if not the most talented wide receiver room in all of college football. So, is that why they were doing it? I really don't know. But I felt bad for Denzel Burke in that situation because I don't know. Um, you know what in the world was going on. There was a couple of times where I was watching him run, and it was almost like he thought he could catch up with the wide receiver, and then just didn't on a couple of those balls. So I don't know. I'm. It's almost like the coaches knew what they were doing, and then they changed their game plan completely going into Oregon with the most talented offense we faced. So I'm.
Well, I mean, here's the deal. First of all, make no mistake about it. We need to give a tremendous amount of credit to Oregon. They are an elite team. They have elite players, and they undoubtedly played their best game of the year
Mhm.
on Saturday night. Okay, I would argue that they outcoached us,
Oh, I
especially
think they
when it
did.
especially when it comes to what you just talked about. I don't. I think our defensive game plan was solid based on what they had shown year to date. Right? They were going to play press coverage. They were going to take away the quick stuff. They were going to allow pressure to get in there and disrupt it. They were going to sack, Dylan Gabriel. They were going to try to make him run the ball. Well, you know what? Oregon self scouted themselves, and whether they held back their first games of the year or they self scouted and said, you know what, this is what Ohio State's going to do, so this is how we're going to counter. I mean, they came. I mean, listen, we went over Dylan Gabriel's, stats, and what did I say on Friday? I was like, the kid barely throws to the right side of the field.
Right.
I think he had over 2 yards, at least 200 yards throwing down the right side of the field last night or Saturday night,
Yep.
rather.
Yep.
I mean, what they showed that night is not what they had shown at all the beginning of the year, other than some deep middle stuff. Like they did like to do that. But, they went away from their quick game, which quite frankly makes it even more frustrating that we cannot get pressure on the quarterback.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you, and this has been. I'm not. I don't want to. Like, here's the thing. I don't want to be like every other media outlet. Everybody's saying the same thing. We didn't get pressure. We got beat deep. 1 point margin of victory. Probably wouldn't be that on a neutral field. Yeah, we can talk about all that. We can hammer that home. But there were just so many things that I really like. I haven't looked at the all 22 like I normally do. I don't understand why they went away from the run in the second half. I mean, Trey obviously had the hot hand. He had a couple 2 plays for over 70 yards early in the game. I really thought that we were going to see more of that. And they just kind of stopped going back to it. It was almost like they lost confidence when Josh Simmons went down that they could run the football.
Yeah. I
I don't
mean,
really I can't explain it.
listen, I mean, again, Oregon played their best game of the year. They had a fantastic game plan. All right. I'm not afraid of their defense at all. I mean, our offense did well. Um, if we score 31 points, we should win every game we play, right? I mean, if
Right.
we got the silver bullet defense going. Now, the game atmosphere was also absolutely phenomenal. That stadium, I kind of poo pooed, and we got our buddy Bailey from out there. Who Bailey, I'm not going to apologize for you, but I will give you credit.
Yeah.
Like I'm not, I stand on my takes that I had, but it just played out differently. I mean, credit to their fans, man. That stadium was going off. Do I think it was louder than Penn State? From what I'm hearing from people that were there, they said it was comparable, and to that I say kudos. It's 40,000 less, and it's comparable. That's impressive.
Thousand.
Do I think we lost the game because of that? No. Do I think that we gave away one drive for sure because of it? Yes. Could that one drive have made a difference? Yes. And then, Oregon fans are quick to point out, and they're not wrong, that on our first drive of the game, that should have been an interception. Absolutely, unequivocally should have been an interception. It wasn't even as close as the game, the Michigan game last year. Like, Kazmarek never had control of that ball.
No, he didn't.
It never hit the ground, and the other guy came up with it. That should have been an interception. I'm very surprised they didn't review it. They missed an extra point. Um,
2 point
so
conversion.
yeah, there were some miscues on their side or some things that went our way. I do think that just the end of the game sequence was complete utter trash from both the officials and the Ohio State coaching staff.
Yeah.
All right, I'm not going to sit here and blame the officials for everything. You shouldn't, to Ryan's point, you shouldn't let a one bad call from the official determine the game. Like, you shouldn't have yourself in that situation.
Correct.
And
So
go ahead.
I was just going to say, so I know Matt Finkes can be controversial, but he did get clarification on the college football rule about that. So the rule was changed in 2013 to the current rule, which is a dead ball, 5 yard penalty when 12 players line up in a defensive formation, and a 15-yard penalty for participation. The 15-yard participation was eliminated. That said, the play should have been blown dead on the snap, according to the officials, similar to an offensive offsides penalty. The yards should have been assessed, and 10 seconds should have remained on the clock at the snap.
Yeah,
So it
I
was
wasn't even
deemed that the
talking about
yardage.
that play.
Yeah.
That's
Well, I'm just
confusing.
saying. Yeah.
So here's what's confusing me is that I can vividly remember numerous plays that were actually run. The whistle, it was not blown dead, and then
Right.
there was too many men on the field. I think this was an illegal substitution, which is different than too many men on the
Mm.
field, and that should have had it blown dead. But there's there's some conspiracy theories going on out there that I don't know if conspiracy theory is the right word, but that Dan Lanning knew what he was doing with that. That
Yeah, they've been saying he
he's
knew what he was doing. Yeah.
like, we'll never know. I mean,
Yeah.
he certainly told that guy to get on the field, but it might be because he thought they were short players and not because he knew what he was doing and that the clock was going to run and everything else like that. I mean, if Finkis's interpretation of the rule is correct, then I would argue Lanning was not doing that. But again, you don't. Ryan ran into this season referencing how we've been a play away or a few plays away in numerous games throughout the last few years, and that this year they were going to leave no doubt. And on Saturday, they did not leave any doubt. I mean, they did not leave no doubt. It,
Right.
you know, but here's let's talk about the sequence at the end of the game. I mean, the last play of the game, I've got it on pretty good authority that that's not what they repped and that's not what they game plan. Chip called that. I didn't understand why he called a flood pattern on the sideline. We still had a timeout. It's not like we needed to get out of bounds. That's a long developing play. My understanding is that they repped, quick slants, get the yardage in the middle of the field, call the timeout. And for whatever
Yep.
reason, Chip didn't call that. And my understanding is that Ryan was beyond furious with Chip in the locker room in front of the team. Like, he was irate. Now,
I have so many questions about that whole scenario, man. Why we wouldn't just run the ball and line it up where you want fielding to be when you're on the 27-yard line? I have so many questions. I have
well,
so
I
many
mean,
questions.
the same thing. You go back to the Georgia game, and people complain that he didn't throw the ball. We needed some more yardage on that. But yeah, I mean, 28. The ball's on the 28.
Hmm.
That's a 30. That's a 45-yard field goal. I personally think, and I want to address this right off. I personally think that Fielding has the leg to do that. That
Yeah,
40-yard field goal he kicked was an absolute bomb.
that was a
I,
rocket, man.
I
That would have
think
been good from 60.
I think that would have been good from 55 to 60. He's got the leg to consistently hit 50-yard field goals. I saw it in camp.
Hmm.
So this isn't, I know Ron and Q were talking about us not having a kicker. We have a kicker. Now, does Ryan have confidence in him? I don't know. But at that point in time, there's just a lot of second questioning, and this is where Ryan's going to start getting criticized. Is that not like this is a year that he was supposed to show that he had all that in check. There should not be any mismanagement of the clock at the end of the game. We could have called a timeout before the 2-minute warning that would have saved us a timeout. So they had a first down, they ran a play, and there was like 2 minutes and eight seconds, 10 seconds left, and they let it run down to the 2-minute warning. So now we were forced to take a timeout after second down and after third down. We could have used, we could have taken one timeout, used the 2-minute warning for after second down, right, and saved another timeout. Now that I'm talking through that, I don't know if it's right. But regardless, there was mismanagement at the end of the game from a play call, from a clock management, from all that. And this is the kind of crap that Ryan, he needs to stop doing it, man.
Well, I also so there was that odd situation with the offensive pass interference call where the clock kept running. I didn't even had no idea that was the rule. No clue that that the
Oh, that it
clock
would
started
start
on.
up. It would
Yeah,
start up.
on the ref's whistle. I don't think anybody on the field knew. I mean, looking
Um,
at the sideline, they looked really confused.
I
So,
mean,
odds that whole sequence there,
if
man.
they're
That's what I'm saying. Like,
if
you
they're
couldn't have
con-
gotten a more weird, odd scenario of shit that happened. Like, you just couldn't.
yeah.
That was the weirdest. end to a football game I think I have ever seen since the
Mhm.
Boise State Oklahoma miracle.
Yeah, I
Weird.
don't know. I think they mismanaged the clock there. They should have known.
Yeah.
Offensive penalties do not stop the clock. If
Yeah.
so, you would have guys jumping off sides all day long when they didn't have any timeouts left, you know, or false starts or whatever, just to stop the clock, right? If they wanted to give
Hmm.
up 5 yards for extra time on the clock, they should have known that the clock would start again.
I don't know. Yes, they should have. I didn't know that was the rule. I don't even think the announcers of the game really realized it until later that that was the rule. Which the announcing wasn't great in the first place. But I want to say one thing for the Autzen Stadium and the surrounding area. Really cool, really great, like college football setting. Definitely, sunset, the whole shebang. As far as that goes, like the ambiance, pretty darn cool, man. You mentioned the whiteout, so I have been to a Penn State whiteout, and I know we had Bailey that from over on the Duck side of things commented on our stuff, and I don't know what he means by we could not have been more wrong about the game. I said we would score 31 points. I couldn't have been any more right about that. I thought Oregon's offense would score 21. They scored 32. Good for them. But and Dan, you talked about how he hadn't thrown the ball to the right all year long. I don't know. I don't know what more we. I mean, the only
I
thing we
mean,
were wrong about maybe
he's probably
is
he's
the
probably
sound.
he's probably talking to me because I took 38-13. I thought we were going to dominate him and shut him down when I
Yeah,
was pretty damn wrong.
yeah.
But
Um,
we were wrong about what our defense was going to do to their offense. We weren't wrong about our offense. Even though we lost our left tackle early,
mm,
we still were able to put up 31 points without really running the ball in the second half. Now we only put 10 points up in the second half, which I don't know. I don't know if I want to go back and watch it again or not, but here, just let me summarize my takeaway. I'm not worried about playing them again.
mm. Yeah,
And, it's not, and that's not to take away from them at all. I'm just not like, I just wouldn't be worried about having to play them again. Like, you have to think that we're going to correct the stuff that we were bad on, right?
So here, you Ohio State fans are not going to like me, and I'm a real homer man, but they're not going to like this. Um, I don't think so.
Then so what?
We haven't fixed the pass rush in 2+ years. We're not getting home. We haven't got home all year. We didn't get home last year. They say sacks are just a number. And we've defended Jim Knowles too on this show, and the Larry Johnson, and we've talked about the disconnect. And but the fact of the matter is, we're not getting home. And if you don't have pressure, you're putting your guys on an island. It only works if there's pressure. And so I don't know how you fix that. Um, you know,
Well, I mean,
unless you, what are you
my
what are you going to do?
well, I know it started as soon as the game was over. Ryan apparently addressed the team, told them that he thought that was the worst defensive performance ever since that he's personally seen on Ohio State. Um, I have a feeling he was talking to the coaches more than he was the players because he apparently had the coaches get off the plane and go straight to the Woody and have a 5 hour film session, is
Mm,
what I'm hearing. Now, I've also heard that Larry Johnson was not on the plane flight home. So who knows? Maybe that was pre planned because of the bye week. Um, I don't know, but there is absolutely unequivocally an issue. I know we've been hearing about it for a while now, but there is an issue between Larry and Jim, and I have a feeling this game may have finally pushed Ryan over the limit, over the edge with Larry Johnson, and that if Larry, I just I think we're going to see something different moving
better.
forward.
I mean, so here's my thing, and you guys know this. Like, I'm really optimistic about this team. I still think they can win it all. They have the pieces are there, but what I saw Saturday night is not good enough to win it. And so the frustration for me is I really expected this to be one of those like statement games for the defensive line. Like everybody said, play somebody, play somebody, play somebody. We played somebody, and I don't think Oregon's offensive line is amazing. I think Penn State's offensive line is better than Oregon's.
We match up really really well with Penn State. We always have.
Yeah,
Um, I I mean I don't. Something's got to change in regards to the way we're playing the front four. Um, we can't keep doing what we're doing now. Listen, I mean, Saban won what, six national championships at Bama, and he had what, one or two undefeated teams, two, right? I mean, he won national championships after losing to Ole Miss, after losing to A&M, you know, um, during the season. So I'm just not like the world isn't ending as we know it. There
no,
are
the sky
some
isn't
things.
falling.
There are some things that need to get fixed. The defense got exposed, and let me put it this way: if they do not fix that, I will no longer be in the court of Ryan Day. Like, this is it. He fixed the defense by bringing in Knowles. It's been light years better than it was. Okay, yes, there is a horrible track record in big games. I get that. Um, and that's the item that needs to be fixed right now, right? He brought in Chip, he fixed the offense. He got rid of Alford. Well, Alford left, but he was forced out. Great hire with Locke. He's made changes every time something catastrophic has presented itself. The difference is that it's always been at the end of a season before.
Mm.
He needs to do this mid-season now.
I don't argue that at all. So I'm not me, I'm not really a Ryan Day apologist. I'm just struggling with this one. I don't know why it's just bothered me, and I don't know if it's just been like a culmination of the last couple years. The one thing I will say is three of those losses against top five teams I don't count because Michigan cheated. Um, so the one loss to Georgia by a point or whatever it was, we lose to the number three team in the country against Oregon by a point. So it is what it is. You got to fix it, but I am genuinely concerned on the defensive side of the football about not getting pressure. So, something has to change, and I don't know what that something is. Because if I see what I saw on Saturday, which was no pressure, but we're still, playing press coverage and we're getting beat, I don't understand it. And there was a couple plays where they dropped linemen into coverage. I'm like, what are they doing? What are you doing? We're standing in the
There's
middle
some
of the field.
the Kings of the North, Marie and or Doug. How do you say his last name?
Doug Maurice, is that who you mean?
Yeah,
Oh,
Maurice,
does
and then
that thing with Landis? Yeah.
I mean they
I,
showed one. They showed one where we had six guys showing pressure, the four
mm-hmm.
down linemen and the two linebackers, and the only people that rushed the passer were the two linebackers. Like, the four down linemen all dropped into coverage. Like, it was bizarre. Now, it happened to be a play that it was 3rd and 9, and I think they were trying to take away the short crossers and the quick stuff. But that
Yeah.
was one of the plays where the guy blew by Burke, caught the ball down at like the 2 or 3 yard line. Um, my biggest concern, and I don't know if it was Andy Backstrom or not Backstrom. Who's the other guy? Leiter, Miter.
Mm, I'm
Somebody
not
and then
sure.
and/or Bucknuts that that they Ryan and Bjork apparently met and talked about what needs to happen to change course and save course, and that it was kind of a like Day's job's not in jeopardy, but it was like, hey, we need to fix this,
Yeah.
you know. And Day was 100% on board with Bork as to what they thought needed to be done. I don't know what
Hmm.
that means. I got to be honest with you, man. I have a funny feeling that something really out of the ordinary might happen with this staff.
I mean, it's possible.
I just
As
don't know
far
if it'll
as
happen mid-season, like mid-year. Like let let me just put it out there. Larry Johnson's job is in jeopardy
hmm,
because it is considered a fact at this point that he is the only reason that Knowles has not run his complete defense that we saw at Oklahoma State. Like he is 100% adamant against pulling any of his guys off the field for any sort of situations. He's got on board with putting the Rushman package out there again and everything else like that, but it's always guys from he is unwilling to have less than four guys from his room on the field at all times. And we're not getting a pressure doing that.
yeah. Well, you give me something to chew on. Because there's guys, and Jakeem Stewart's one of them that wants to play for Larry Johnson because Larry Johnson puts guys in the league, and any kind of monumental change like that. And I don't know. We saw the Kerry Combs to Matt Barnes debacle in 2021, and um, I don't know. I don't know. That's what I got right now. All I know, and we've hit on this, is something has to change along the defensive line. Whatever that is, I don't know what that is. And there were some mistakes too that like I'm just wondering where the defensive lines, you know, it was almost like they were playing a little bit of hero ball, trying to make a play. They were pressing so hard to make a play. There's the one where Dalen Gabriel finally kept it and pulled it. And Latham Ransom took a terrible angle, by the way, uh, on that play.
That's also supposed to be JT's guy. JT's
It's
like,
JT's guy, yeah. Oh,
I mean,
100%. Like he crashed down on the running back, and if he plays it, if he stays home, Cody Simon makes that tackle on the running back, and nothing happens. So
yeah. Like I said, they're to lose a game by 1 point in an atmosphere like that with the number of blunders that we had, I'm not worried about seeing them again.
yeah, I don't think I don't want to say I'm worried. I'm mad.
Yeah.
Um, so like I came away and I remember the end of the Georgia game, and I was watching the end of the game, and then and I was sitting there, and my wife came in, and she was watching the end of the game with me, and she's just like, so what do you think? And I was like, I think I'm mad, and I don't get mad. I'm a pretty happy, relaxed person. But I think I was mad because, and Dan, you coach, I coach, we've coached, we've been around football our whole lives. For the life of me, I walked away feeling like we just should have won that game. And that there were so many moments that, man, like, gosh, we this here or that there. And Will Howard dropping that snap and just laying on it, which at the time, like I was like, okay, well, probably a smart play instead of trying to pick it up and do something stupid with it. Um, but I walked away and I thought a lot about the offense, and I thought need to run the ball a little more in the second half. That's Will Howard's ceiling. He's not going to play any better than that. He played the best game he's going to play, and
No, and
so
the
I don't
lack
have
of a
any
deep.
fault on the offense.
Well, I still, I mean, the lack of the deep
The
ball is glaring.
Yeah.
It's glaring at this point. there was no reason for him to underthrow JJ on that one where he split the guys on the left side of the field. JJ caught it, but he should have caught it in stride and potentially scored. He had JJ down near the goal line on the last drive of the game, and I do think JJ was getting held a lot, but it was still a bad throw. He's just very, very limited with downfield stuff. I don't know,
Well,
man.
that's what I said. We saw Will Howard's ceiling. Like he played the best game he's going to play. So
Right.
yeah, no, he's not going to hit JJ in stride on that play. He doesn't. He's not CJ Stroud. He's certainly not Cardell Jones. So those are the kind of things. We are where we are with it. He is what he is, but he played the best he's going to play. And so now what your limit is with Will Howard. We've seen it. We know what it is, and he's an elite competitor with
We
an
can win a
average
national
arm.
champ. We can win a national championship with Will Howard if the defense holds
Yeah,
up its end of the bargain.
yeah. So here's the thing, and I tweeted this a while ago, and I stand by it. He's Craig Krenzel. Will Howard is Craig Krenzel.
I think he's better than Craig Krenzel.
Well,
I
I
do.
mean, on this team.
Yeah. Um, yeah. I don't know. Yeah. I mean, we haven't seen the wheels that we've seen, like, those long runs that we kept seeing highlights of. I
Yeah,
haven't seen that.
but have we needed it? That's the thing.
Yeah, but I mean, there's been a few times where he's been able to take off, and I'm just like, I don't see it. Like Dylan Gabriel pulled that ball for what, 30 yards? Like,
Yeah,
I've expected to see some longer stuff like that. I guess we save it for inside the red zone, but the
well,
QB power and the QB sweep and all that other they need to stop running that crap with him.
I hate it.
It's
The
not
other
who
thing
he
I
is.
that last play of the game though, I mean, honest to goodness, he slid super early because I knew was thinking we're running out of time. But that would have been one of your longer scramble runs, Dan. It would have been a 20-25 yard run. So
Oh, if he didn't have to
because
slide, yeah.
yeah, they were bailing. They were in a bail technique and everything, playing cover four in front of everything, so that nothing crossed the goal line. But yeah, I don't know, man. Again, like I said, this
Yeah,
is
we were
probably my
right.
best
We were
take.
right. Yeah, we were right there to win that game. It sucks.
Yeah,
It's frustrating. I want to pull the little hair that I have left out, regarding some decisions that were made. I mean, listen, I think it's the last Michigan game, this game, the Georgia game, were all games where, despite the defense not playing up to par, they still got the ball back with enough time to win the game, and we haven't
yeah,
won the game in either of those three situations.
yeah,
So there's a lot of self-reflection, that needs to go on with the staff and the scheme and everything else like that. It's just it, you know. But Bailey, kudos
well,
to you, man. Oregon,
yep,
they showed out, man. They played great. They had a great game plan. They definitely, I think, caught us by surprise.
hmm
I think if the coaches had a dose of truth serum, they would say they did not expect him to be taking deep shots like that.
no, they wouldn't have.
Um, but an Autzen Stadium is one of the best places, in all of college football for a big game atmosphere. So, kudos. I think it'll be different next time around.
Yeah, I'll 100% agree with all of that, Dan. And I try to be really, we both try to be really rational with our takes. And I don't know. Maybe I'm not mad. Maybe I'm just disappointed, like my dad would say. Like I'm just this is what my dad would say. I'm not mad. I'm
Well,
just disappointed.
let's reverse tables for a second. If I was an Oregon fan,
Yeah,
I would be jumping with joy over winning that game. I would be ecstatic. I'd be feeling really good about myself. But after I had a chance to digest it, I would say, "Holy cow! We really torched their defense more than anyone has in a long time, more than we have at all this season, and we only came away with a 1 point win." Now they'll
hmm
come back and say, "Well, you scored on your opening drive, and it should have been an interception." Fair. We missed an extra point. Fair. But at the end of the day, as good as their offense played, they still only beat us by a point in their crib.
yeah. And I will say too, Dan. kudos to the Oregon Duck fans. Like they've been pretty all right to deal with. It's not like the Michigan fan base. There's always one or two. There's always one or two.
Yeah.
But I will say, like, if this had been Michigan, Ohio State, the insanity on Twitter would have just been really just unbearable. And honestly, the unbearable part for me on Twitter has been our own fan base. And I'm serious. I'm not joking. Like,
I know.
if we lose some subscribers, whatever, man. Like, we're just two talking heads. But um, our own fan base, man. Like, the I hope you don't hold your spouse and other people in your lives to the same standard that you hold Ohio State to for perfection. And I'll just leave it at that, because I am certainly not perfect. I know that about myself. I made a mistake this morning. I didn't know my kids didn't have school, so whoops. So it happens, man, and slip ups happen, mistakes happen, but yeah, maybe I'm just disappointed. I shouldn't say mad. I'm just disappointed. Thought we had a chance to get that one.
Yeah.
All right, man. Well, I know you got to run. My daughter has ballet. Any last thoughts?
No, no. I mean, I just, I think we learn from it. We figure out what's wrong, correct it, and move on. I
Yeah.
do think that, one last thought is that this result will cause the remaining games to be a lot more stressful than they probably needed to be.
Yeah, looking at the stretch run, I was thinking the exact same thing with Penn State and Indiana. And
Indiana's defense is trash, and I don't think they will have played anybody like us. I mean, it was nice to see on a national level that the pundits came away and the commentators came away and they said, "Listen, that's an elite. Ohio State's an elite team."
yeah, one thing I'll say that I think it kind of made me, like, I took a step back after the South Carolina Alabama game too. To me, it feels like Oregon, Texas, Ohio State, and then a little gap, a small gap, Alabama, Georgia, Clemson. So like that's kind of how it feels to me
Yeah, I
right
mean
now.
Miami's in there. Penn State's in there.
I don't. I am not a believer in Miami right now, and Penn State certainly should be in that conversation. So
Well, I'll tell you
Miami
what,
fans.
a Miami team would have given us fits with the way our defense played the other night. So
Yeah, the way Cam Ward
that's why
runs
they're in
around.
there.
Yeah,
That's why they're in the second tier to me.
yeah. My only thing about Miami is Cam Ward is a turnover machine. So
Yeah, well, so
so
was Dylan Gabriel this year. Dylan
yeah.
Gabriel's had some really bad turnovers this year.
I thought he'd only had 3 picks this year, but maybe I read the stat wrong. But yeah, either way, Dan, like I'm disappointed, but I thought also that everybody got what they said. We got what we knew we were going to get, man. It was a barn burner. It was a great game. It was 2 versus 3. It was everything you'd expect. It was not a blowout, and I mean, it was a fun game, if nothing else. But yeah, that's it for me today, man. I don't even know anymore.
All right, man.
Yeah. All right. Well, Dan, thanks for Dan's in the traveling this week. He's in the Sunshine State,
Otherwise known as Denver.
otherwise known as Denver. If you've watched, if you, I don't remember what is that movie.
Old school.
Old School. If you've watched Old School, Denver, the Sunshine State. But yeah,
Yeah.
thanks Dan for joining me, and you guys have a good week. Relax, take a deep breath. The Buckeyes will use the bye week to get better. It's not a bye week; it's some other week. So no, it's a bye week. But you guys enjoy yourselves. Have a good week. Dan, thanks again, guys. See you. Go
Go
Bucks.
Bucks.